that's what we do. Set 'em up, knock 'em down, make that cherry glow. Whiskey and cigars, a gentleman's cologne.
Cheers, y'all. That sounds like a party just about to begin, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally
Hi, Mom.
as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. We are up to show number 428, and that's what we're doing today, and we're very excited. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars, and in today's case, once again, we're going to talk wine, because Travis Thompson is here from Vino, Vera Wines, and Travis is going to talk us through pairing wines with barbecue.
I'm so excited about this.
Now, I guess my first question is there any wine is there any wine that is just not appropriate with a barbecue? Because I can't think of one.
No, I mean, I don't know that I'd be drinking Chardonnay with brisket, but I've brought a few that I think will work.
You're going to help us pair things up a little better, though, right?
Well, and I even brought one that's just going to work for standing at the pit.
Oh, I like
love
that.
that.
See, one of my favorite
He's
things to
thinking
do.
ahead.
Yeah, one of my favorite things to do, and it's funny because, where I live now, we have, I can't have a barbecue pit on my balcony, but they have them down on the 8th floor level where the pool is. They've got several really nice gas grills, and so my wife takes care of the gas grilling because I will only, try cooking when there's real mortal danger involved, which is, actual wood fire cooking.
Or charcoal.
Or charcoal, yeah. So, but I do love that. Back in the day when I used to barbecue over, like a wood fire all the time, the barbecue process was my favorite because I would light a cigar, I would have a beer or a wine. It would be just that.
And then you're prepping the fire.
I'm in the zone.
I think there's a primal thing about mankind.
Yeah.
I'm not being misogynistic about it. I'm not just saying men, but mankind in general likes to gather around fire.
Oh, I think, yeah.
So
going back to the caveman days, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. Gather around fire, draw stick figures of animals on the wall. It's a thing that we've been doing for years.
It's like we like to have a drink in our hand just to be doing something with our hand. We like to be standing around a fire to give us a sense of purpose for the moment.
Right. And there's a togetherness being around the fire, Mm-hmm. That's a good thing.
And there's laws, too. You don't go tending someone else's fire.
Right.
There's...
And you don't mess with another man's rhubarb. But that's a completely
You are correct, sir.
different topic for a different day. Oh, we got some things to talk about on the program today. In addition to talking wine, we're going to talk a little bit of tequila. In fact, Divertido Tequila Anejo on the program today.
It's easy for you to say.
Some Vino Vera wines, of course, and we'll talk cigars, including EP Carrillo changing their name.
I don't know what to say about that.
We have something to tell you about that. Plus, Crowned Head Cigars. Tim Osgener of the CAO family, the original CAO family, has just acquired a majority stake in Crowned Heads. He's going to be the big guy there. So some pretty interesting cigar stuff to talk about. And, of course, some craft brewing stuff and maybe a little tequila information. And we'll bring you, of course, as we like to do on this show, both drinking news and a drinking fact. So if you want to bring up the ukulele, we'll do the teaser headlines. Our drinking fact teaser headline, perfect for the week when we're doing wine. After clinking these glasses, I'm feeling a little toasted. And our drinking news teaser headline for today. You all know this one. Sing along. So we'll get to all of that coming up. Another thing we like to do in our first segment here on the program is a little something that we call colloquially the beverage of mystery. So the beverage of mystery is where one of us will bring a beverage in, almost always, but not every time, but almost always an alcoholic beverage of some sort. Sometimes it's it's been mead before. It's often seltzers. Sometimes it's canned cocktails. Sometimes it's beer. But it is always something that the only person who knows what it is is the person what brung it.
And that's you,
Today,
huh?
that would be me. And I don't remember what I did with. While you guys sample, I got to go figure out what I did with the beverage of mystery bottle because I had it.
You're on the clock, buddy.
I had it in my pocket. So you guys
This looks
sniff and discuss.
This looks like something that would just simply generically be called fruit punch.
It,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know what? It tastes
And,
like
it noses a little bit like that too, although it's a little watermelon heavy, I think.
tastes like a I mean, it smells like a something at a college sorority party that would be really popular.
Like some
Yeah.
pink lemonade.
Yeah,
It's fruity.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's sweet. Oh, the sweetness doesn't stop, and then it's
Oh
tart.
boy. Oh, actually, I kind of like that. That's
There's
fun.
so much sweet. This
Oh,
is
that's
like
fun. And then it gets tart. It does get tart.
this is like what's that fruit punch soda? Remember the high C fruit punch soda?
Oh, I see fruit punch with 10% real fruit juice.
10% real.
It's like, yeah, it's might not want to put that on the can. That's
As Fez on that 70s show would say, tastes like candy.
yeah, it does taste a little like candy, doesn't it? It just smells that way.
Yeah, it sticks. It sticks there like candy too. There's a tartness that like leaves your mouth watering like crazy.
I kind of like it.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. I wouldn't.
The first sip of it was a bit of a palate shock. After that, I think my tongue is now so coated with sugar it's hard to tell just how sugary this is.
Is it? But it doesn't have that saccharine aftertaste, though.
No.
It does not.
You could drink it till your tummy hurts.
You know, on ice.
This is that real cane sugar.
I sleep in a drawer.
on ice with a straw.
Yeah.
Maybe by the pool.
Yeah.
A slice of something citrusy.
I feel
Well, it
like
is very
I feel like
summery.
a
Now,
12
I'm dressed for
I
summer
feel like
today.
a 12 ounce pour of this is somewhere like 11,000 calories.
Well, you have a question for me, sir?
Do you happen to have a beverage of mystery in your pocket, or are you just happy to be here?
Well, I am very happy to be here because it's wine and barbecue day. But
That is a beverage of mystery in your pocket.
ladies and gentlemen, it is a Cayman Jack strawberry margarita
Strawberry margarita. I would have never guessed margarita out of that.
Nope.
made with strawberry juice and agave nectar. It is.
Is it a wine based one?
I don't think so. I'm looking.
I bet it is. That's
Says contains alcohol.
yes,
Maybe you can read the.
If it doesn't say contains actual tequila, then this is going to be a wine based one.
Yeah, I'm guessing it probably is. Cayman Jack's. Now, we've had the regular Cayman Jack margarita on as a beverage of mystery before, but this one is very strawberry.
It tends to have
Very
like when you have the wine based ones, it tends to have a very pungent sweetness to it. That
You know, but I do this for a living, and I'm not 100% sure what it means when like a cocktail like that is wine based. Like,
Well, okay, so the bar downstairs in my building, the Market Bar, they have a beer and wine license. They do not have a spirits license, and they make all kinds of cocktails that are wine based.
Well, but what I don't understand is, so are you basing your cocktail with?
no, there's a specific industrial wine
Oh, that's made for wine
that's
cocktails.
made for this.
Oh, I did not know that.
And I didn't know that either until a friend of mine was working for one of those margarita or daiquiri to go places, and he was talking about there's a specific like industrial wine that you get. You don't just get wine bottles and make it.
So a lot of those, they're
more
not
you
putting
know.
real rum or real tequila in those
no,
things.
it's a
either.
wine based alcohol, and
Yeah.
it's I don't know what percentage it comes in at, but
4 to 6 probably.
I would drink this during the summer.
and it doesn't. And that's not just. Don't get me wrong. That's not bad. If you've ever gone into any place that only has a beer and wine license, and they have margaritas or daiquiris or whatever, that's what they're serving.
Right. Gotcha.
There's still alcohol in it, but it has a very, very punchy kind of sweetness to it.
Well, I would say this. I would not have a problem drinking this. As a summer by the pool beverage. My only concern actually would be, how does this move you closer to type 2 diabetes? How quickly? Is it a 6-pack? Is it a 12? What gets you there?
Every sip of this gets me closer to Wilford Brimley.
Okay, I'd just like to point out Wilford Brimley reference, show number 428 of Smoking and Toasting. There's got to be at least some people in the audience who are going, Who the hell is Wilford Brimley?
I'm showing my age right
Yeah,
there.
that's right. That's right. But come on, Cocoon?
Right?
There's a lot of people going, the hell is Cocoon? It was a movie. It came out in the 80s.
Diabetes?
Diabetes. That's right. Diabetes. Anyway, that's. I thought that was actually pretty good, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's like
As beverages
like I said,
mystery
after
go.
the initial palate shock at how sweet it is, it actually drinks fine.
Yeah, and it's as beverages and mystery go, it's pretty good. Did you look up the
11 grams of sugar. That's not horrendous at all.
really?
This is just super
11
sweet.
grams. No protein
11 grams of sugar in like one of the 12-ounce bottles?
per 12-ounce serving, yeah.
That's actually not.
100 carbs, 11 grams of sugar, no protein.
I was watching one of those Watch Mojo lists on.
You're gonna have to add some powder to it to get a protein shake out. Sorry.
I was watching one of those Watch Mojo top 20 list things on YouTube, and it was the desserts that were the most bad for you, and there was things
And it
like
was everything I love.
Yeah, I was like cheesecake. It's like 40 grams of sugar per slice and stuff like that. It's like unbelievable. If you watch that, two things will happen. Number one, you will realize I can't eat any of this stuff anymore. And number two, you will go, that looks so good. I really want a piece of cheesecake.
Okay, well, here, let me blow your mind. How come people 300, 400, and 1,000 years ago, they didn't live as long, and they didn't even have cheesecake?
Yeah, that's a question for the ages, Terry.
It's true. I've never seen a caveman and a cheesecake together in the same place.
Boom.
So or a banana split.
My dad has type 2 of the diabetes, and his kind of dietary motto is, if it tastes good, spit it out.
I like that.
That's
Pretty. That's pretty spot on. Well, it's always interesting to delve into the fact that if it tastes good, it's probably not that good for you. But today we will flaunt that with some really hopefully good tasting barbecue.
I will tell you, after having all that sweetness on my tongue, I went back and took a sip of my beer,
and it seems
and
like
it tastes like carbonated water.
Yeah, I was gonna say
it tastes a little bit like a Topo Chico at this point.
Oh, you're so right. That could be a Topo Chico with lime right there. That's totally true.
Not saying anything bad about the beer, but that is so sweet.
Now, Ian, you picked up the barbecue for the show today. Where'd you get it from?
Henderson and Kane.
Henderson. I don't think I've experienced
Henderson
their
and Kane.
barbecue.
It's just east of downtown in that little. It's kind of like over by B&B Butchers, but across the street in that neighborhood right there.
Yep.
And it's been there for years. It's like an old grocery store.
I took my wife to J Bar M, which is in East
yeah.
downtown last week, which was really good.
Did I say east just west of downtown as well?
Yeah,
Sorry.
you mean west, yeah. But
J Bar M's really nice. Yeah.
yeah, I enjoyed it. But so what different barbecue treats did you bring?
So I picked up a little bit of brisket. I picked up a little bit of chicken. They were out of turkey. Of course, the turkey is amazing, and they sell out of it really quick. But they were out of turkey, so I picked up chicken, which is also quite good. I picked up 2 different sausages, and I got a couple sides. I got some beans, and I got some mac and cheese.
Oh, okay, well this is good.
And our mac and cheese is to be reckoned with.
Between the Cayman Jack strawberry margarita and the macaroni and cheese, we are well on our way to type 2.
Yes,
So
we'll be exceeding our caloric intake before dinner.
All right, lots to do. We'll find out what Ian had to smoke this week and how good it was. And plus, we'll be talking wines, talking barbecue, and talking a little tequila. It is Smoking and Toasting as we pair wine and barbecue on show number 428 with our special guest, Travis Thompson from Vino, Vera Wines. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We are in the studio today with Travis Thompson from Vino, Vera Wines. We're going to be talking about wine and barbecue a little bit further into the show. But right now, I was wondering, Ian, if you had the opportunity to smoke anything interesting this week.
It's funny you should ask because, boy, have I. Punch is at it again. Every year they put out a new cigar that has some kind of, it's usually an Asian theme. Right, last year was
like a Year of the Dragon type thing.
Yeah,
or
last year was a spring roll, and those cigars came instead of in a box, they came in a Chinese takeout kind of container, and they were outrageously good at $6 a piece.
Yeah.
I smoked as many as I could. They were so good. Well, they have the new one out. Comes in a taller round container. It's called the Bottle Rocket.
Nice.
It has a long red stick attached to it. So it literally looks like a bottle rocket.
When you light it, does it spark out of the end?
That'd be awesome.
That would be awesome.
Did.
Yeah.
Or it'd be never mind. I'm not going to say that. I was going to naysay another company, but
Yeah.
so it literally looks like a bottle rocket because it comes with the long stick on it with a red stem. This is a 4.5 by 50. I neglected to put down what the wrapper, binder, and filler are on here, and then I was trying to look it up while we were talking, but I didn't quite get there in time. But we can put that in later. This looks like a bottle rocket with a red stem, espresso brown wrapper, rustic, veiny, oily, and a red band on it says "Year of the Snake." That's pretty cool. So it's a really cool looking cigar. You take the bottle rocket stem off of it, and then you just got a wrapped cigar, so you open it up like normal. The pre-light sniff on is barnyard, earth, and leather, and boy, is it a strong smelling cigar. The pre-light draw, I used a clip, had a medium draw, super chocolatey and gritty malt coming through on the pre-light draw. The initial light, chocolate, malty, pepper bomb. I mean, right off the bat, this thing is so big and chocolatey.
Sounds very Nicaraguan.
So delicious. Retrohale is cedar and pepper. The first third of this massive plumes of dense smoke bursting with chocolate and cedar. Not death smoke, that's different. Dense smoke bursting with chocolate and cedar, tangy leather, pepper, and powdered sugar all coming through. Retrohale is sweet chocolate, pepper, and cedar, solid ash. Perfect burn. Proposed pairing on this. You gotta have something with some body. I put wild turkey as a whiskey pairing, maybe pecan porter as a beer pairing.
Pecan porter.
Pecan porter with the gritty mocha on the.
By the way, I just saw.
cigar.
I didn't pick any up, and we've reviewed it on the show before. But the double pecan porter
so
from
good.
512 is out again.
So good, yes.
Yeah, it's
The second third of this gritty mocha and a touch of leather, hints of raisin and dark bread with a fruity tang on the end of it. The pepper eases back a little bit at this point. The Retrohale is sweet, gritty mocha with cedar, solid ash, perfect burn. The last third of the cigar, sweetness and fruity notes rule here with an increase in cedar. Retrohale is cedar and sweet, solid ash, perfect burn. Price $7.
nice. I was thinking you were going the other way with that.
Price to quality $7.
Nice.
Solid 7. This is worth every penny. I want to go back and buy a box ASAP.
Did you like it as much as you liked the previous one you were talking about, the egg roll?
Easily as good as the spring roll was.
Spring
The spring roll was outrageously good as well.
And that's from Punch.
Yeah, Punch. And every year I'm going to try these because every year they knock it out of the park.
It's kind of like the Casada Oktoberfest. It's like you can count on it being pretty good every year, and some years even more.
Yeah, and it's not the same
outrageously
every
good.
year.
Right.
Like this,
So
there's
they
always
redo it.
some different kind of theme, which is interesting. But absolutely, highly recommend this cigar.
Nice.
Are these
nice.
still available in stores for the rest of us
Yes,
to try?
yes, they just came out.
Nice.
Just came out.
I will be looking forward to trying this. So, all right, I think we have time to go ahead and do the I'm sorry. Sometimes the mind just blanks out, and the older you get, the closer you get to diabetes, the more it has a tendency to happen.
Right
and
now,
I had that.
Right now,
I
the
had that-
sugar's hitting you.
I had that strawberry thing
Do you
earlier.
have to wear a cowboy hat like he wore and have that mustache though? Too?
Yeah, you do. It's required. That's the Wilford Brimley look. I can't believe we've name checked Wilford Brimley in two separate segments. What is wrong with us? Let's just do, if we can, please, the drinking fact.
And now it's time for another smoking and toasting drinking fact.
It's the only thing we do here on the program where the content is not nearly as important as the fanfare that surrounds it. Yeah, that's the thing.
Drinking
right
fact
there.
is really an excuse to play the fans.
Exactly. Although today's drinking fact does tie in a little bit with what we're going to be talking about, because we're going to be talking about wines and barbecue on the program. And did you know, this is a true drinking fact, that clinking wine glasses together before drinking, now that's obviously known as a toast. But did you know that the term originated in ancient Rome when a piece of toasted bread would be dipped into the wine before it was drunk? That's where the phrase toast
Wow.
came from. Yeah.
And why do we do this?
I don't know why we do it, but I figure it's a lot like me. I mean, I clink the glasses together before I am toasty. So that, I've got that going.
Now,
for
I
me.
have some bread over here to go with the barbecue, and I have a lighter, so we can have toast. Like, I know the recipe.
maybe we should try this. Bread plus fire equals toast.
I know the
Just
recipe.
Ian with the flaming piece of bread.
But that's where it came in.
There.
Clinking the glasses together, I guess, became the substitute for, sorry, I'm out of bread. Let's just call this
Let's
toast.
just do this.
Yeah.
Just do
I
this.
clinked the glasses together before.
Now, I was
I'm
led to
drunk,
understand
so-
that the toast was a way, like, back when you used to be in danger of people poisoning you, that you would try to slop some of yours
into theirs. Oh.
Like, that was kind of the...
You should have saved that for another drinking fact because I'm running out, man.
Dang it, man.
All right, we got to take a break, and we will be back momentarily to begin the drinking and the barbecue. I'm very excited about all of this. The first one, though, we don't actually eat barbecue because it's going to be,
just
I think
lighting
you
the
said,
fire.
the wine for when you're lighting the fire.
Yes.
I'm actually really excited about that because fire. We'll be right back. It's Smoking a Toast. Welcome back to Smoking and Toastin'. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And in today's case, wine, because we're talking about wine and barbecue. And I thought it's interesting. We're going to be trying this rosé, and it looks a little more amber than I'm used to rosés being slightly more pink. Is that normal, or am I just drinking really cheap rosés?
Well, no. So for this one, this is going to be a blend of 4 lighter skin grapes. So and
So they just don't have as much pinkness to
exactly.
them, right?
And, but also the color has to do with like how long they soak the red grape skins in, and allow them to get the color from the skins.
Okay.
So if it's not macerated as long, then you're not going to get as pink or as closer to red.
All right. That makes sense.
I have to tell you, I just put this to my nose, and my mouth is already watering.
Let me try this because I'm going to tell you about
Like,
my
it
cigar.
immediately makes my mouth
I
water.
noticed, by the way, you got much more substantial pour than I did.
I don't know. I think it was pretty even across the board.
Oh
there.
boy, this smells great though. Okay, we're gonna be going at this in a moment. Let me tell you about the cigar that I had this week first. I this week smoked the Avo Synchro Nicaragua, and I'm coming back to a cigar today that I reviewed and talked about a year or more ago on this show because I had made a note to be sure to try this one again. And so when I initially reviewed the Avo Synchro Nicaragua, a severely box-pressed large Toro, I believe I said that I really liked the flavors, but I had to do a little too much tending to keep the cigar burning correctly. So this week, I gave the Avo Synchro Nicaragua another spin. This cigar, the Synchro Nicaragua, uses an Ecuadorian Connecticut wrapper over a Dominican binder and Nicaraguan, Dominican, and Peruvian Orlancho long fillers. It's the first box press cigar that Avo ever made. And while most of their cigars are milder and feature more Dominican tobacco, the Synchro Nicaragua was their attempt to target a cigarette smokers who like something a little bit more intense. So I used a punch, and I got a little coffee and a little spice on the pre-light sniff and some additional cedar notes on the cold draw. Overall, a pretty nice pre-light profile. Once I added a little flame, the Synchro blossomed into life, giving me the kind of black pepper and earth notes that I generally associate with Nicaraguan tobacco. Also picked up a note of toasted nuts and a hint of bittersweet chocolate. Overall, pretty similar to what I picked up last time. But what I really wanted to focus on was how this cigar burned. Would I be able to make it all the way through without having to spend too much time and energy tending to it with a flame? It did not take too long for me to start figuring that out. About a half an inch into the first third, and I took a lot of pictures of this, so hopefully Adam will post them and you'll be able to see if you're watching the video feed. But about half inch into the first third, the ash started to poke out at a crooked angle. You know when you're smoking a cigar and the cigar's like this, but the ash starts to
starts to bend weird.
Yeah, so it was doing that, and the burn was already all over the place. So far, it wasn't affecting the flavors, so I decided, you know what? I'm going to see how long I can go
Let it ride.
without tending the
Just
cigar.
like BTO.
And I will admit something I don't know if I realized. When I'm smoking a cigar and it starts burning crooked like that, it's really hard to resist the temptation, the impulse, to touch it up with the lighter. Several times I reached for the lighter and almost ignited it before I remembered that I wanted to see how it would burn on its own and how long I could go without giving in and adding some additional flame. Turns out, that was about the 1 inch mark. Now, mind you, this is a 6-inch long cigar. So having to touch it up before I'm even halfway through the first third, not great. Interestingly enough, I looked up several reviews of the Synchro Nicaragua online, and all of them that I read reported a nice even burn. Yet just a year ago, I experienced the exact opposite. And again, by about an inch in, the wrapper on one side seemed to have gone out completely, and the other side was starting to canoe. So I gave in. I torched up the unburned wrapper and tried to even out the burn line and went ahead and flicked off the ash, which was still holding, by the way, to see if it would give the Synchro a new lease on life. Now, from a flavor standpoint, second third brought in a coffee note, the earth and pepper continued, and a little bit of milky creaminess crept into the mix as well. All really good things, good flavors. The burn, well, it was certainly better after I tended it. So I was happier now as I continued to enjoy the flavors of this cigar. Incidentally, Cigar Aficionado named the Avo Synchro Nicaragua their number 16 cigar of 2015. Although if I'm reading it right, the blend may have been slightly different back then when it first came out. But even if the tobacco blend has been altered somewhat, the results from a flavor standpoint are still very good. Not sure this would make my best of the year list for flavor, but it didn't disappoint. But about halfway through the cigar, about the halfway point, the burn was becoming crooked again. I held off, tending the Synchro to see what it would do on its own, and what it did was continue to burn crooked. Yet another side of the wrapper seemed to stop burning altogether, while the opposite side kept right on going. And by the way, I wasn't in a windy place or anywhere where outside factors would have been contributing to that problem. The cigar, just like the last time I smoked it, did not burn right. Now, I would guess that if I tended to it multiple times while I smoked, I might have kept it under better control.
I mean, do you maybe only puff out of one side of your mouth?
Well, if that were true, wouldn't that happen with every cigar? Right?
I'm just
right. Yes. I mean, if it was something that I was doing, you would think it would show up elsewhere, right? But as you can see in the photos here, if you're watching the video version of the show, it was just not capable of maintaining anything close to a straight burn on its own. So I finally hit it with a lighter again. I did my best to even out the burn line, and the final third added leather and caramel to the flavor mix, and the pepper ramped up slightly, and the creaminess seemed to pull all the flavors together. But I noticed by the last third that the Synchro was burning a little hot, especially on one side. And this added a charring, sort of burnt flavor that worked against the overall profile. And the final couple of inches of the cigar were pretty disappointing. I looked over my notes from last year, and it seems like I was enjoying the flavors enough that I was really motivated to keep tending the cigar every inch or so to try to keep it on track. Left more to its own devices, it did not work out so well. And I suspect that if I hadn't touched it up the couple of times that I did, it would likely have become unsmokable by about the halfway point.
right.
So in my last review of the Avo Synchro Nicaragua, I wound up giving it a 5 in price to quality, which means you get what you pay for. I must have been in a really great mood, because at about $12.50 in price, there's just no way it lives up to that cost. I mean, Ian's smoking a wonderful cigar that's what did you say, $7?
Oh yeah, it's $7 cigar.
$7, and you're raving about it.
It's fantastic.
This is twice that, and it doesn't burn right. There's just no way it lives up to that cost. If you can nab one of these at a real discount, it might be worth tending that it would require. But in my experience, only touching it a couple of times, not so much. So maybe I just wasn't in as good of a mood. But price to quality, 3.5.
Yeah, well,
it was disappointing.
you gave it 2 tries. You, as a matter of
Right.
fact, even made yourself a calendar note.
Right, to go back and try it again.
To do
and
this.
went back and bought another $12.50 cigar.
See, you could have bought 3
Right.
or almost 4
Yeah.
of the cigars that I smoked.
Yeah. I'm just not not impressed. But hey, I intend to be impressed with
So
a little,
I actually reviewed that in 2018.
yeah.
And I don't have anything about the cigar falling apart, as it tasted good, but I gave it basically a 5.
Yeah. Which is what I did the
Now,
first
mine
time.
was a different size. Mine was the
But
4 by 50.
I tended the hell out of it that
Ish.
time. This time I left it more to its own devices and shouldn't have, I guess. That's why I'm saying it'll be worth it. It might be worth it if you're okay to the commitment of having to tend it the whole time. You know, it's kind of like a crying baby.
It's not a pipe.
Yeah.
You know.
All right, guys. Let's talk rosé. Now, this is Travis, you're telling us that this is a perfect wine for like when you're kind of standing in the smoke, when you're tending the fire, getting it ready.
Yeah, so I didn't think it'd be smart to bring out the Cabernet Sauvignon and the Sagrantino, whenever we're getting your coals right, whenever you're hanging on the smoke, whenever you're in the sun, kind of get everything ready.
I love that.
But so this is just something nice and fruity, or not, I shouldn't say fruity, but it's a fruit forward wine. This is from Chateau de Astros. This is the Amour, and so this is a blend of Grenache, Syrah, Mourvedre, and Cinsault. So they a cuvee from them.
I know what some of those are. Some of them are quite frankly new to me.
I heard Astros.
Yeah.
Yeah, so got to disclaim this has nothing to do with the Houston Astros. The wine has been around a substantially longer amount of time than the team, probably about 150 years longer.
Wow.
But they're over in Provence, France, about 50 or 60 miles from the coast. But anyway, so this is a wine that
really delicious.
Yeah, I actually I pulled up a picture of a cigar that I actually had with this wine. It was a Ashton Cameroon. I think I actually talked.
I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a very probably I'd say even less than medium, kind of in
but
on the milder side.
But the Cameroon wrapper though will make it a little spicier, even though it won't make it more full. It'll make it a little spicier. So
yeah, you gotta fill in the cigar words for me. But I enjoyed the pairing. Just I was lighting my a pit for a pork butt.
Love that.
And so that's what inspired me to bring it for the episode. This was the wine that I used for that purpose.
Honestly, this is wonderful. It's so full flavored. Sometimes rosés I find can be good, but not necessarily intense in the flavor department. Yeah. And this one I think is very
and you
very
mentioned pork
flavorful.
butt. I bet that goes wonderful with this.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, and so what I brought 4 wines today, so I did one that's we're going to pair with just being outside, being in the elements of cooking, to where you're not going to be overwhelmed by the rosé is going to go just fine with the smoke in your face.
Right.
And then I brought 2 kind of intermediate wines that are going to be they could be out while you're outside, but they could also pair with the meats.
Just a couple quick suggestions. You mentioned that Ashton Cameroon. I would say a Nub Cameroon or a Nub Connecticut will go really, really well with this as well. Or
AJ Fernandez New World Cameroon.
Yeah, the New World Cameroon or Fuente Hemingway series. Any of those. Any of those Hemingway series or Aladino, Connecticut.
Well, this is quite good and very impressive. What does a bottle like this retail for?
Probably, I think in the low to mid 20s.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on. It's actually here in Houston. If you're cruising around town, this is at Central Market. You could probably find it in any of the wine shops around town, especially if you ask. We'll get it to them the next day. But yeah, this is a wine that we direct import from France, and we're always going to have this one in stock. But again, this is my pairing for just being out in the elements.
Delightful tartness that it leaves on the back
you're
of
not
the
kidding.
palate.
It really is wonderful.
A lot of melon flavors. Not quite tropical, but definitely full-bodied melon. A little bit of like underripe cherry, strawberry.
Has a little bit of a summery kind of feel to it as well.
Yeah, it does. It seems like something you would have. Again, we're talking about a lot of around the pool. You can tell we're kind of itching to get to that place. It's just now really warmed up. So we're thinking about strawberry margaritas and rosés and things that will work around the pool. But or you can be like Ian and you be looking for that barley wine.
Perfect barley wine to sit around the pool or float on a river with.
Sit around the pool.
I don't know how you do it, sir. I really don't. Just briefly, I wanted to touch on this. We've not talked too much about the Trump tariffs on this show, partly because we like to stay away from political stuff and just keep it about, craft beer and fine spirits and hand-rolled cigars and wine and barbecue today. And partly because we tape the show several days before it airs, and the tariffs have been changing back and forth so fast that by the time you hear the show, things might be different.
Yep.
But there's no getting around the fact that unless these tariffs go completely away, we're going to be paying more for tequila, for Mexican beer, for scotch, for rum, for wines from France.
Things that penguins make on that island.
And for cigars. So a few notes. Industry experts estimate that the tariffs will cost the end consumer anywhere from 50 cents to as much as $2.10 more for each handmade cigar
Yeah.
in a zero tobacco tax state, and even more in states that have tobacco taxes. That means another $12.50 to $52.50 or more for a box of 25 cigars.
Wow.
Yeah. Rocky Patel says the last thing that cigar makers want to do is raise prices on consumers. He told Cigar Aficionado, most of us have inventory. We're not going to pass the cost of standing inventory on to the consumer. When asked how long it would take until the higher prices were initiated, he estimated it could take until June. We're probably looking at 2 to 3 months, he says. J.C. Newman says they will honor our existing prices and continue to offer our traditional trade show specials to brick and mortar retailers through May 1st. Now, that's the specials they're offering to the retailers, which means, again, probably June is a good projection of how long those prices could remain intact at your local cigar shop. Of course, all of this may have changed by the time you hear this. We will keep you posted as best we can. And in the meantime, might not be a bad time to stock up on some of your favorites if you have a little extra cash and the ability to do that.
I see a little container of those punch.
In my future, the firecracker ones.
Firecrackers,
Dude, I'm so there.
Bottle rockets.
Bottle rockets. Thank you for that. Yeah, I'm so there. No, I'm seriously, this is not a bad time to stock up. In fact, maybe invest in another humidor. Add a humidor to your thing so you can stock it up. I'm just thinking, or make one. We'll help you on next week's show. How to make your own humidor. It's a good time for that. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be back with more wines and finally some barbecue in our next segment. It's Smoking and Toasting. We're all making the sounds of happy eaters and drinkers.
Sleepy wine and a delicious food.
Welcome back at Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, hand-rolled cigars, and today wine and barbecue. And we'll get to that in just a moment because we have started our sampling process, including the next wine that Travis has poured for. So I want to get to that momentarily. First of all, though, some cigars to watch for. AJ Fernandez, who I happen to be a personal fanboy of as a cigar producer. He's had a lot of different brands under contract for others, but also has his own portfolio of brands, including New World, which New World turned 10 years old last year. And so to mark the milestone, he's created a new line called New World Decenio, which means decade in Spanish. So that'll be shipping to retailers in mid-May. The reason for the delay was so as to not confuse consumers with the AJ Fernandez 20th anniversary release in 2024. It's Decenio. It's New World that is 10 years old.
New World Decenio.
So it's New World is a staple of the AJ portfolio, and his operations were recently disrupted by the recent massive fire that we told you about last week on the show at his factory in Esteli that destroyed millions of cigars. But he has more than one factory, so the others are still cranking away. And Decenio is produced at the San Latano factory, which is not the one that caught on fire. So it will be shipping in boxes of 20, and the price, suggested retail price, is going to range between $12.50 and $15 each. And I'm betting you the construction will be better than my $12.50 Avo Synchro Nicaragua that I had earlier.
Better.
So I noticed you guys are pretty busy with the cutting and the eating here, but I just wanted to mention that we started nibbling on this barbecue that Ian brought in. Really good stuff, by the way. We started nibbling on this during the break, and you poured us a wine that I've already sampled, and it just goes wonderfully with these smoked meats. What are we drinking here?
So this is a 2023 Saint Innocent Pinot Noir, and this is their cuvee.
Wow!
So this is a blend of 5 different single vineyards. Mm-hmm. Mark Vlasik's been making wine since the year I was born, 1988. So
just a young thing.
Mark knows a great deal about his craft. I mean, listening to Mark stand in front of a group of my customers and preach about his wine is, I mean, I just want to
religious experience, right?
Kind of. I just want to sit back and take notes and a single percent of what he knows. But yeah, so the Pinot Noir goes. I mean, so far I've been trying to stay somewhat disciplined on my plate here. I've had the sausage. This chicken is fantastic. I don't know if we've name dropped yet, but Ian picked this up from Henderson and Kane.
Oh, so good.
But the beans, the chicken, and the sausage go beautifully with this Pinot Noir.
They really do. They really do.
So I think the Pinot Noir is kind of an intermediate wine. You could use this for both out in the smoke. And then also transitioning to into the kitchen or the dining room, sitting down with.
I don't know that I've ever had wine and barbecue before, and this matches so nicely.
Well, Pinot Noir is a pretty versatile wine, right?
It really is, yeah.
In terms of a style, I find you can eat it with, or you can drink it rather when you're eating, heavier meats like we're doing it today, or you could have it with seafood. Like you don't have to go
literally from a grilled chicken Caesar salad all the way up to a steak.
Right, absolutely.
Maybe the acid might allow you to even do it with oysters or some of those briny seafoods.
I hadn't thought of that, but yes.
Yeah. So Mark's St. Innocent's wine. It is somewhat in balance with the wines of Burgundy, but it does have a very Oregon characteristic to it. But he, as I mentioned, this is a blend of 5 different single vineyards.
And this is from Oregon.
Yes, it is, the Willamette Valley.
Wow.
But it's definitely it's an established. It's not necessarily up and coming anymore. Oregon's here. There's a lot of really good Pinot Noir made in the Willamette Valley in Oregon.
Wow.
We represent a few producers, but today we're highlighting St. Innocent. And again, this is their cuvee because the single vineyards, let's say the Shea Vineyard, Temperance Hill, Freedom Hill. There's a few others out there, but that Mark works with. But this being the cuvee is a little bit more on the economical side. This wine would probably be somewhere in that $38 to $45 for the bottle range.
Nice.
If you were to pick it up at one of Houston's wine shops, it has not made it into mass-produced or mass distributed retail yet.
So it's not something you can get around the country then?
No. Well, I'm not sure about how it's distributed in other parts of the country, but I can only speak for Houston. That's the market that I represent. And
But you're probably going to find it at smaller stores.
yeah. So like someplace like Houston Wine Merchant, Venology, Padre, places like that, you can, ask them to, bring in a bottle or 6, and they'll probably, if they don't already have it on the shelf, they'll get an order going for you.
Yeah, and I noticed you've been fairly quiet during this segment.
I wanted to make sure that before I keep going about this, I want to make sure that he got his words in. But it's interesting because we talk about how well the wine goes with it, right? But we also have to imply that it goes the other way, like it elevates the barbecue. And I want to point out too that this wine, and this is one of the craziest things I like. Ian, this is something you're going to say in the future. No, not really. It's weird. This wine and this mac and cheese are kind of outrageous together.
You got to love...
Like, their mac and cheese is so good anyway.
Yeah, you got to love when mac and cheese pairs with a great wine.
But again, the wine, like when you come back to the food too, the wine kind of elevates the food, and it really like it's a sympathetic thing. Like it.
I was thinking about it. Wine and cheese is a thing, so all we've done is add macaroni.
Well, and there's cheese in our sausage.
We just made it a little more Italian.
That's right. Exactly.
Well, but there's this might be a debatable topic, but me and some of my people in my wine circle, I guess you could call it, people that anyway. But wine is kind of textbook the only beverage that like as Ian just described, goes back and forth. The food elevates the wine and the wine elevates the food.
Right, that's true.
Because I don't know, people can try and pitch me a beer dinner or a whiskey dinner, and I just don't think it's going to develop or evolve throughout the course of the night or the meal as well as a wine dinner would.
Interesting. Now, I will say that spirits and cigars can both elevate each other. 100%. And I think that wine and cigars can probably do that too. We'll have to do, next time we have you on, maybe we do a wine and cigar pairing show.
On board. Let's do it.
So we'll be at a location. It'll be awesome. So, all right. We do have to take a break. Hour 2 of the show is coming up. There's more wines to sample. There's tequila to sample, which should be interesting with this barbecue. And we'll also have drinking news coming up. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. We are pairing wine and barbecue on Smokin' and Toastin'. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, hand-rolled cigars, and today wine and barbecue. And I have to say, I didn't expect the pairing to be quite as, I don't know, specific, exact. Obviously,
really
I expected the wine to be good. I expected the barbecue to be good. And I noticed we were taking longer in between segments on today's show than we usually do. But the tasting and the pairing, that Pinot Noir was just fantastic with these meats. And now you poured us another, what you call a wine that would be, I don't remember the word you used, but you said this would be a wine that would also work when you're getting ready or once you've started eating. Right?
Yeah, I made up a word. I'm calling them transition wines or intermediary wines. Just something you can have both outside and inside with your food, to where they're not super big, to where if you've got a little bit of smoke in your face, you're not going to have a bad time. But so the next wine is from Mendoza, Argentina. This is 86% Malbec, and then about 10% Merlot, and then a splash of Petit Verdot. So this is kind of, I've purposely segmented on my plate to where I'm kind of having this with my brisket and the beans. And it because you've got a little more body involved in this wine, especially.
That's what I just had, was a bite of the brisket. And coming back to this wine, I mean, that is really wonderful. Now, I really enjoy Malbecs. I love the flavor forward nature of them, and how they're not shy, you know. And this works really, really well with this meat. Yeah,
we were at 14.5% alcohol here. You're in a year in oak, so you're getting a tiny bit of that barrel, which is playing the barbecue well. Wood and wood smoke, and with the a wine that is showing the barrel is being shown through a little bit more than with the Pinot, where the Pinot is focusing more on that bright fruit. Whereas on the Malbec, we're seeing or tasting a little bit more of the darker fruit.
Yeah. I'm reminded of the immortal words of the one and only Kenny Rogers, who said, "It's the wood that makes it good."
So this has a big roundness to the middle of the palate.
It does.
That really helps wash down those bigger flavors too.
This is the Loscano vineyard down in Argentina. We have a female winemaker here. She produced this, and this is her winemaker series. So she had kind of some liberty with this label, and it was her project. So not saying that she doesn't make all of her wines the way that she wants to, but with the winemaker series, maybe she added a little bit of her own flair to it, or a little bit of her blending quality.
She did a great job. Is what she did, because this is just really full and flavorful, but not so much that it kind of competes with the meats and the beans.
Yeah, but with the slice of the brisket, which I was just talking about, it's a little bit on the peppery side, which is what I like. It plays well with the Malbec, which is a little bit darker of a wine than the Pinot was, where I chose to go chicken and sausage with the Pinot, and on the other half of my plate, I've done brisket with the Malbec. It's really a kind of, like you said, an intentional pairing or a specific pairing.
With the fatty side of that brisket too, the way the fat just melts in the mouth, and that pepper follows, and then the drink of the wine is so good.
Keep talking, I'm chewing.
But yeah, so guys, this is my third episode with you, and I appreciate having me on. And something that's kind of a theme that I want to keep bringing up is that wine can be paired or consumed with anything, because at first we talked about some holiday wine, and then my second episode we talked about Prosecco and how versatile it can be, how it's not just for celebrations, it's not always sweet, just kind of dispelling those myths. And now, again, we're talking about barbecue wine. Next time we can talk about corn dog wine. We can talk about Valentine's Day candy wine.
Mark me down for the corn dog show.
What kind of wine goes with this deep fried Snickers?
But I mean, there's not many foods that you can't run past me that I can find you a wine to go with. I mean,
I love that.
Champagne goes with probably 97% of the foods that could ever be put in front of you. Pinot Noir is, one of the kind of a universal red. Yesterday I actually did a separate podcast where we were talking about just casual food. Everything from what do you have with a salad? A Gruner Veltliner. What do you or a Chardonnay or a Sauv Blanc? Some of these, citrusy or higher acid whites that's going to go with maybe a vinaigrette or complement the buttermilk ranch of your Caesar, whatever, or your not your Caesar, but your whatever salad you're having. We talked about casual Asian cuisine. We talked a little bit about barbecue. We made some smash burgers in the backyard, and then talked about. We had a Bordeaux blend and a Cabernet to go with those. Those are kind of classic pairings. Burgers and big reds. But the point of what I'm driving here is that wine can go with everything. It's not this high and mighty drink that everybody might think it is. It's approachable.
People think of it as being a little stuffy. Right? Yeah.
But look, we're drinking in about a $16 or $18 Malbec with a piece of brisket, and it's going pretty good.
I think, like for my own side of it, I get intimidated by analysis paralysis. Like how much choice there is. You know, like if you walk into a big wine store, even a small mom and pop store that has, how many bottles are in your average small bottle shop?
Right,
and it's dizzying. You have to ask. For me, I have to ask. I have no idea what I'm looking for.
And unlike, say, cigars or spirits, where there's a more finite number of producers, wines just seem to come from everywhere. You can think you know something about wines and walk into a wine store and recognize almost nothing other than like the barefoots and the things like that are kind of everywhere. But when you walk down the if you're walking down the aisle at Specs and you're looking at Italian wines, I'm looking at bottle after bottle after bottle that I have absolutely no idea.
Cruz, a drinking fact for you. Did you know that every state in the U.S. produces a wine?
Really?
Yeah.
Terry, I think we need a fanfare after that. Let's say that again.
All 50 states in the U.S. produce at least a wine. Not all of them are. Not all of them are great. We're
I don't know if I want the Arkansas wine. Really.
But you're.
It was made in a bathtub.
Made in the finest turlets available.
Your primary states in the U.S. are going to be start with California, Oregon, Washington State, West Virginia. Actually, makes some. They're. I don't know if you could even call them up and coming, but they do make some good wine out there. A lot of Bordeaux varietals. Upstate New York makes some good wines, some Riesling, some Malbec.
Where are you on Texas wines? How good do you think Texas wines are compared to some of these other states?
I'll say that there's a lot of wine made in Texas. I think, out in the hill country, there's probably 180, 200 vineyards. Some of them do a great job. Some of them are still figuring it out.
I like the way you said that. That's very diplomatic. Some of them are still figuring it out.
But there's Michigan has some really interesting wines, some high acid whites. Yeah. My wife and I have had some wine in Colorado that wasn't that they're still figuring it out. But
they got the craft beer thing figured out in Colorado.
For sure.
I'll say that. And in Texas, I think they're figuring the whiskey thing out too.
Yeah,
there's some awfully good Texas whiskeys coming out.
Like I know Iron Root makes some really good stuff.
Iron Root, we're gonna have Garrison Brothers, and obviously Balcones. Still Austin
is what a strange anomaly they are. How do they do 2 and 3 year old whiskeys that are so amazing?
Are that good? Yeah. Oh, I know. It is an anomaly.
And I don't know the technicalities here, but I think there's a facility in Houston. Aren't they making brandy? I've had it, but I don't know if they brought it in from France or if they made it themselves.
I'm not sure about that, but there's all kinds of things are being made in Texas. And one of the things about Texas, because it's so large geographically, we've got almost every kind of ecosystem, other than maybe Arctic or Antarctic, existing in the state of Texas. You got deserts, you got plains, you got, almost like jungles and forests. Yeah. You've got just a little bit of everything. And it's interesting that different areas are conducive to different, different things. Well, but you're right. Most of the wine is Texas Hill Country.
Yeah, but let's run through it. So from Galveston to the Panhandle, up in the high plains where the wine is grown or the grapes are grown.
Right.
We grow wine grapes. We grow. I'll switch to the word produce: gin, vodka, rum, whiskey, single malt whiskey. Can't call it Scotch.
Yeah.
We have what's triple the Irish style. I think. There's one of the producers out there in the Hill Country. They make a Irish style. I'm missing
An Irish style whiskey?
yeah,
Is that
like
what you're
triple
talking
distilled. I think
about?
it's
Triple distilled. Okay. Yeah.
They're out there near Blanco. Oh, it's escaping me.
There's so much good stuff. Texas Hill Country really is a place for great breweries. Great.
Veno?
They have a a peated product, the Striker. They make Striker.
Okay.
I don't know it off the top of my head.
Oh my god!
yeah.
I'll look it up.
We'll figure it out. You know, I told Ian about one of my favorite breweries that I'd ever visited, and it was just outside of New Braunfels. And you were there recently, and
I was driving
you
through.
concurred that this place is amazing.
Well, you
It's
told me about it,
Guadalupe
and I had it,
Brewing
and I
Company.
had it on my
been there.
in my mind. So I looked it up in my way coming back, and it was about 10 minutes out of my way.
Yeah,
So I
that's
was like,
10 minutes worth driving.
We're gonna go there, and it was a great little brewery and great beers. My
and
goodness,
you brought me back a Scotch ale
do they have
that
a wine?
was outstanding.
I've got one, I bought 2 bottles of that. I have 1 bottle at my house.
Does that brewery have a wine called Chupacabra?
I don't
I
know.
don't remember.
I don't know. But all I know is every single beer that I've tasted from them was fantastic.
Yeah.
And I love the layout of the place. And I brought several bottles back when I was there that we tried here on the show that were all just fantastic. And you brought a growler of a, was it a blonde ale? What was it?
It was a blonde ale with
it was
pineapple
fantastic.
and
Oh, so
Oh
good.
yes, that was.
It was- it
great.
was
And I
so
don't usually want
outrageously good.
pineapple in my beer, but it
pineapple
was
and cinnamon. That's what it was.
wonderful.
And it had like an apple taste to it too, like apple, cinnamon, pineapple. It was delicious.
Because I think in High, right there by Johnson City, I think that's actually where Garrison Brothers is in High. There's a meadery, the High.
Right.
I think it's called High Mead. They make some good stuff. There's High Rum. We've done a sampling there, and they make some good stuff. And
Okay.
then yeah, Garrison Brothers.
So I just wanted to mention, I just did this Malbec mix. I don't know, do you call it a Malbec or do you call it?
No, I mean it's 86% Malbec. So yeah, we'll call it a Malbec.
I just had some of this after a bite of the chicken, which had some of the spicier sauce on it. Oh my goodness! It's like as Ian's fond of saying, it kind of forms like Voltron.
So good.
yeah, Loscano's doing some great stuff down there.
Yeah, really, 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 really good stuff. Well, I'm telling you, this is the way to do a show. In fact, I think we should eat on every show. I don't know how good of a show it's making, but I sure am enjoying it.
It is great.
It's gonna be kind of like if you ever watched that movie about the Who, The Kids Are Alright,
Yeah.
where they're talking about you're making X amount on tour, but you're destroying hotel rooms and breaking guitars, and that exceeds the price of what you're bringing in.
Right.
So we're gonna end up with like spending more money on food than what the show brings in.
But hey, fans and friends out there, if you're say cruising down the highway in a semi or going to work in your car in the morning, just picture this: we're sitting here with a collection of wine, a styrofoam plate with beans, brisket, mac and cheese, chicken, and sausage. So just let that stew in your brain as you head to your next
You're
destination.
going to make them hate us, is what you're going after. Okay. Well, we still have more wine to try to pair up with these things, and we're going to do something really interesting in the next segment and interject a little tequila into the mix.
I'm here for it.
We have some Divertido, not to be confused with diverticulitis. And
That's different.
We'll be right back with more. It's Smoking and Toasting. Ooh, nice. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, hand-rolled cigars, wine, and barbecue. Especially today, wine and barbecue, because Travis Thompson from Vera Vino Wines has joined us, has brought in some wines for us to pair with barbecue, all of which is going really, really well. I was going to mention, for me, it's kind of mixed emotions, but the wines, it's not like you brought us really expensive bottles of wine today, which, by the way, if you ever want to do that, it's okay. It's fine. But for the listener, though, I think it's almost more important that it's like you don't have to spend a lot of money
You can't actually
on a
afford
bottle
this,
of
yeah.
wine
Yeah, the whole day is
to get something really amazing.
The
you
whole
know?
idea is approachability.
I agree. And I wonder what, I don't know whether you would know this information or not. I don't mean to put you on the spot. What percentage of the wine that's purchased in, say, the United States or the world is what we would call inexpensive, say under, $30, $40 a bottle? I bet it's a huge percentage
It is.
of the wine consumed, right?
I mean, because I don't know, the term fine wine, gets tossed around pretty liberally. You get your, strip center or liquor store might be called X person's name, fine wine and spirits.
Right.
And, really fine wine is stuff that retails for probably over $150, $200.
Yeah.
So that's fine wine. That's ageable. That's, made with a lot of great care. That's, it's fine wine. But, that's just a word. But, a lot of the stuff that, I'd say anything that you're buying over $40, I mean, you should have a pretty good deal of expectation for.
Yeah.
But I mean, just as it is in cigars and whiskey and whatever else you're buying, price doesn't always have a direct relation to quality.
Right.
Well, like with cigars, there's a sweet spot, right? Price wise, where if you know what you're looking for, $9 and under, you can get some great cigars.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Gotta know
bottle
what
rocket.
Right. Got to know what you're looking for. If you want a most of the time guaranteed good cigar, $9 to $13.
Mm-hmm.
If you spend that much, you're in the probably 70 to 80 percentile that it's going to be a great cigar,
really good. Yes, for sure.
And I feel like wine has a sweet spot like that. And if you ask me, like, I would think that's between, say, like the 20 and 40 range.
Yeah.
Because I feel like what you said, when you start spending more, you have more expectation. If I spend more than $40, I expect that wine to be at least $40 good.
Right. And one of the interesting things about wine, say, as compared with a spirit, I mean, we're going to try a tequila here in a moment. It was about a $50 bottle of tequila. But what's interesting is if I buy a $50 bottle of wine and I open it, we're going to have all of that wine that night. Right? Whereas this tequila bottle, you could open it up, have, even several drinks, and you still got a lot left for later. Right. So wine, you really, if you're going to spend anywhere north of $40 for a bottle of wine, it needs to be, in my opinion, it needs to be absolutely great.
Well, but also just to agree, and also on the other side, if you're at a restaurant, one of the cool things that we've invented in the past, a few years here, is the idea of Venmo. So if you go to a restaurant, you and your buddy, or you and your wife and you and your buddy's wife, you're at a table and you split a $80 bottle of wine. You each basically get a $20 glass of wine, but it's a little bit more economical as you're buying the whole bottle.
Yeah, sure, right.
And then so you say, hey, buddy, I'll Venmo you.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, because if you split a bottle of wine, you get 2 glasses each, and it's going to cost less than 2 glasses each of that same wine.
Sure.
And then you get to, most places. And then you get to try, wines.
If the restaurant knows what they're doing, they'll price it just to where it's a better value to get the whole bottle and get, 4 glasses.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, speaking of glasses, we have poured our tequila, or Ian has poured our tequila into some Glencairn glasses here, and it is time to do some tasting.
This is one of the more interesting tequilas that you've brought in, I think. Mm-hmm. Like, first off, nose-wise.
I was just going to say, interesting is an interesting word, because if somebody tastes something and you go, wow, that's great. That's, that's a thing. Ooh, that's good. That's a thing. But when they go, interesting.
It's different.
But what does that mean exactly?
Well, so first off, this doesn't cater to all my expectations of what the tequila usually is. First off, the nose on this is a little bit different. There's a little something in there, whether it's a kind of a woody note or something in there that's not like what I normally would expect. But you definitely get the agave and you definitely get the pepper.
A little bit of oak, maybe.
Also, it's kind of an oaky thing. But
see, on the nose, I'm almost like this could be like a super light Scotch.
It's something different there,
or something Irish maybe.
Mm-hmm. I know
maybe an Irish whiskey almost.
Now, once you taste it, you definitely get the agave.
The flavor profile,
but I also get a little bit of like almost sugar cookie in there.
Yes, there's something about
I know that's where I was getting the
different.
Irish, but not necessarily tequila.
And it has vanilla, but it's not the same vanilla that you would expect.
It's not the vanilla that usually has the sort of maple vibe
this goes
to it.
kind of in a different direction. There's almost a powdered, sugary kind of aftertaste,
which is, you're right, unusual for a tequila.
And so when I say it's interesting, it's just because it's outside of what I would have normally expected from a tequila. It is good though.
Yeah.
How was the movie, Ian? It was interesting.
It was interesting.
It was interesting.
It's a work in progress. They're still figuring it out.
I don't,
still
I don't-
figuring it
I don't
out.
think this is bad at all. In fact, I actually really like this.
Yeah,
No, and I like the level of it's just a bit different. It's a little
Right.
west of normal, so to speak. You know.
And I don't think I've ever said the words sugar cookie describing a tequila before.
Right.
So this is very different in terms of the way that it hits the palate. And I got to say, it's actually pretty good with the barbecue too.
yeah. I mean, the past minute and a half of laughing and jokes, but this is good.
Yeah, it really is. At about $50 a bottle,
There's almost a cane sugar kind of aftertaste.
you're
to
right.
It, as well.
It has,
It's really-
and it's very pleasant. It really is. All right, we got to take a break. We have another wine to try, and drinking news is next. Who was that bass player? That's pretty good.
It's West Side Johnny.
Not bad. Not bad at all. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Today's show is number 428, which means we've been doing the show for far longer than should have been allowed. But here we are, and we appreciate you guys coming along on the journey with us. Travis from Vino Vera Wines is with us here, and he has brought another wine, which we are going to be sampling during this segment, which is why I've left a little bit of chicken, a little bit of sausage, and a little bit of the brisket.
I just have a
on my
little bit
plate.
of brisket left.
Because we are pairing wines and barbecue on today's show. But right now, it's time for the most popular segment on this program. It's a little thing we like to call Drinking News.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
I had to take my gator to the vet.
drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. Well, our story on today's Drinking News is about one of the most embarrassing pastimes in the world. Yes, I'm talking about karaoke. That really familiar barroom and party activity that's really only appealing because when you listen to most other karaoke singers, you realize that your own singing really isn't all that bad, actually. There's a reason that karaoke most often happens in bars or at parties, and that's because the only way you're going to get someone like me to sing into a microphone is with copious amounts of alcohol. And by that, I mean, if you are drinking enough of it that you won't likely remember my very earnest rendition of Every Rose Has Its Thorn by the time you sober up tomorrow morning.
Very earnest rendition.
According to the highly acclaimed website timeout.com, among the top 10 all-time karaoke songs are Like a Prayer by Madonna,
Oh, yeah.
Bye 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 from NSYNC, and Wannabe from the Spice Girls.
Of course it is.
That alone should cure you from ever wanting to go to a karaoke bar again, copious amounts of alcohol or not. Also on the list, by the way, was Take On Me by Aha, which no one should ever try in karaoke because there's no way you're getting even close to the high notes on the line, I'll be gone. I'll be gone. No, it's not happening.
No.
And also a Whitney Houston song. Now, let me pause for just a moment to give some free advice. Do not, ever, try to do a Whitney Houston song at karaoke. You don't have the range. You don't have the chops. And please at least have the good sense not to try.
You don't have the Bobby Brown.
But to get to our story today, it is that of a man who took his frustrations with karaoke to a whole new level. It's the tale of a 38-year-old Aaron Jablonski, a Florida man
Florida man.
who became irate and aggravated after trying to sing karaoke at the Overtime Sports Bar in Clearwater.
Wait, why would you be irate and aggravated from singing karaoke?
Well, he tried, but he stormed out in a huff after claiming that the karaoke machine wasn't working properly.
Oh, it made his voice sound bad?
Oh, yeah, my dude. I'm sure that was it. The machine was the problem.
This stupid mic.
Gotcha.
How does Florida have people doing every possible thing you can possibly do in the world, and it ends up bad?
Anyway, once out in the parking lot, he was still upset and still shouting about the karaoke machine when another patron, a 26-year-old man, made the mistake of trying to calm him down. Jablonski, who felt he had been denied his constitutional right to thrill the customers of the Overtime Sports Bar with his stunning rendition of She Got the Gold Mine, I Got the Shaft.
Oh, man, you got to be careful what you do with your 15 minutes of fame.
He pulled out a Glock 9mm from his waistband and said, and I'm quoting here, I don't effing care, except I'm not exactly quoting because we're, on radio. And then he did what any Florida man would do. He started firing.
Oh, yeah, fire into the air. It's like fireworks, but they're deadly.
Now, Jablonski only got off one shot, and thankfully, his aim was not any better than his karaoke skills because no one was hurt. But that didn't stop police from arresting him when they arrived at the scene, especially because our Florida man, it turns out, is a convicted felon, previously found guilty of battery on a law enforcement officer. Because... Of course he was.
Did he hook the battery up to his nipples?
Because
not that kind of battery.
Florida. Now, because convicted felons cannot be in possession of a gun, which, by the way, really puts a damper on gun sales in Florida, cops detained Jablonski and charged him with aggravated assault and felon in possession of a firearm. He is currently in county jail in lieu of a $40,000 bond. And our Florida man's rap sheet, by the way, includes convictions for DUI, disorderly conduct, theft, resisting an officer with violence, violating probation, and 2 separate incidents of battery on a law enforcement officer.
I'm running out of fretboard here.
Nipples or no nipples. All this got me to thinking about felons with guns and their song choices at karaoke. I mean, sure, they can choose Willie Nelson's Shotgun Willie or Mark Chestnut's Bubba Shot the Jukebox, but it seems like there really aren't enough songs in the typical karaoke library that they can sing while drawing on their own real-life experience to make their performance seem real and poignant.
Have you heard Brenda Get Your Bra On? This song's brilliant.
I know, but I will look it up on Spotify after we finish the show. All this gave me an idea. I have decided to write and record an album of country songs that all mention guns. And if these get added to karaoke machines around the world, I'm going to be rich enough that I can afford tequila even with all these tariffs. Now, I know what you're thinking. There's no way I have enough ideas for songs like this to write and record an album. But my friends, you'd be wrong. In fact, I've taken some of the best ones and put them in the form of another Drinking News Top 5 list, which, despite the pleas of the anti-gun lobby and my personal therapist, I'm going to share with all of you now. This would be my top 5 list of new country songs about guns that I'm going to write and record and become fabulously wealthy. And by the way, one of these I stole from somebody else. See if you can guess which one. Top 5 country songs I'm going to write about guns. Number 5, The Devil Went Down to Georgia with an AK-47. Number 4, Her Daddy's NRA, so we had a shotgun wedding. Number 3, She Wore Nothing But a Smile and a Smith & Wesson holster. Number 2, Everybody Run, The Homecoming Queen's Got a Gun. And my number 1 new country song I'm going to write about guns, number 1, Honey, How Can You Be Pregnant When We Both Know I'm Shooting Blanks? The one I stole was number 2, The Homecoming Queen's Got a Gun.
I remember that. Everybody run.
From the very funny Julie Brown. And by the way, no, not the very annoying... Not the very annoying downtown Julie Brown that used to be on MTV.
Julie Brown.
No.
Worst MTV host ever.
Downtown Julie Brown.
Wubba, wubba, wubba. but that's not important right now. Reporting live from the Overtime...
Is Pauly Shore going to walk in?
Reporting live from the Overtime Sports Bar in Clearwater, where I just heard the bartender say, "Thank God they arrested him before he tried to sing Bohemian Rhapsody." My name is Cruz, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is your
Drinking news, a drinking news. That's our time for drinking news.
I hoped you were going to resolve on a major chord there. Or not.
You know whose headquarters is in Clearwater, Florida?
Who's?
Hooters.
Not anymore.
Why does that not surprise me?
Not anymore.
Yeah, didn't they declare bankruptcy?
They're
Yeah.
doing bankruptcy now, right? Yeah.
I don't know. Clearly they spent too much money on those orange shorts. That had to be
a family
it.
Remember,
establishment.
they were very obviously. You have to give it to them. They were ahead of their time. They were the first to do it. And then remember, they did an airlines for a while. That went from like Florida to Vegas or something, like 2 places. Like that was it. But
It's a
Hooters
family
Air.
establishment. That's what it said.
The slogan's so weird. What is it, like delightfully tacky?
Yet
Refined.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
Called
will,
Hooters.
I will tell you that I did a morning show on a radio station once that Hooters threatened to pull their advertising because the morning show was too blue humor oriented.
Whoa.
And I'm like, your logo is a pair of boobs.
Hooters.
Are you serious? Yeah, but the O's. That's a pair of boobs.
So if Hooters goes under, we're not really hurting for that here in Texas because we also have Twin Peaks.
Well, that's why, because there's Twin Peaks, Ojos Locos.
Ojos Locos.
There's,
Notice how Terry
Tilted
knows the name of
Kilt.
all
There's
of
like
these.
a million
Tilted
of those
Kilt. That's right. I
things.
forgot about that.
There's like a million. That's why they did that. That's what
Tilted
happened to
Kilt.
them.
I don't know if it's still there, but they're down 45 South and south side of Houston. There used to be one called Tight Ends.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Hooters actually wears the most of all the clothes.
Yeah, they
nowadays.
actually do.
Yeah,
Yeah, they actually do.
Yeah,
We have another glass of wine that has been poured by our very.
This glass of wine is beefy.
I'm very appreciative of our guest today, Travis from Vino Vera Wines. Travis, what have you poured us here, and how does it pair with barbecue?
All right, so this is the real meat pairing here. This is a 2020 vintage Perron Justice Saint-Emilion Grand Cru.
That's easy for you to say.
So this is on the right bank of Bordeaux, where the right bank is always going to be predominantly known for Merlot-driven wines. Mm-hmm. This is about 88% Merlot, and then the rest is made up of Petit Verdot and Cabernet Sauvignon. Spends about 14 to 16 months in a new French oak barrel. So it is going to be a very intense, but also velvety because it's Merlot driven. So this should be tying in with your brisket very nicely.
It does have a very smooth texture to it. But you're right. It's full. It's big. It's
big.
Berries.
It's interesting because the very first wine that you brought out,
the rosé.
The rosé, like the moment I nosed it, like my mouth started watering. This one, you take a sip and it's incredibly satisfying when you finish that sip. Mm-hmm. And it takes a minute for you to sit there and go, okay, now I want another sip. Mm-hmm. Like it's not an immediate thing, but it creeps up on you like, oh yeah.
We call that the delayed Doritos effect.
It's really nice. Mm-hmm. Also, it crushes it with the brisket that I just had.
Mm-hmm. I just tried a bite of the sausage, so now I'm going back to the wine.
Yeah, the brisket and then the Bordeaux was beautiful. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so this is a big wine, and we're having some pretty big food. So it's a perfect pairing. We've Merlot is the tannin is going to play with like tannin and fat, acid and fat, alcohol and fat. So there's kind of several factors that are working on the pairing here. And also just the flavor profile. We've got dark fruit, a little bit of the wood coming through, and kind of a vanilla flavor. I think this would also be if this is going to be our last wine with the meal, and then we're going to roll into a cigar. This is really this is our cigar pairing wine.
Right, because I want this left in the glass.
Do you have the aftertaste of that wine in your mouth? Mm-hmm. Take a sip of your tequila after that.
Go back to the tequila.
It turns the tequila into a chocolate bomb. It's crazy.
Fascinating.
Yeah, chocolate and vanilla.
Fascinating, and I wasn't necessarily getting
like chocolate mousse chocolate, not like dark chocolate,
like a creamy whipped sort of a chocolate. and vanilla, and that's wonderful, actually. Wow, I've never thought.
Know, right?
I've never thought of pairing wine and tequila, so that's a new. Usually,
That's a new one.
when you talk about we're pairing wine and tequila, I'm like okay, we're having a hangover.
Well, I took my last sip of
what
wine, and I was like,
happened.
I'm gonna hold off on the wine. And then I took a sip of that tequila, and there it was. I was like, that's incredibly interesting. See, interesting.
I love to pair my alcohol with alcohol.
I will say that
Alcohol with alcohol pairings.
that it doesn't go quite as well when you go back the other way.
That's,
tequila to the
That's
wine.
not an issue, as I've killed mine.
Okay, yeah, well, I understand. It happens. Happens on this program more
The
often than
evaporative
not,
qualities
actually.
of wine.
Yeah, exactly. So
But I think both the tequila and the Bordeaux would be great cigar pairings.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think both of them would work.
Well, so
really, really
we teased it, but I think next time you're on, we're doing cigar pairings. So I'll set it up at a cigar shop, and we're gonna.
We do cigars and wine, so I think we're gonna do. I think the best way to do it would probably be a bubble, a white, and a red.
I was
See,
gonna
he's
say,
already on top
so,
of it.
so I was
love
going to
this.
say, would you go with lighter wines to pair with cigars, like a white or something sparkling, or would you go directly to wines like this?
Well, I don't know. We might do just like a sparkling just for the fun of it to see the kind of how that pairing works, and then maybe do 2 reds. I don't know about. Somebody might in the audience might be correcting me as they listen, but I just don't know about white wine and cigars. But that might be the purpose of the episode is let's educate
Well,
ourselves.
there is a cigar from Perdomo that's called Champagne.
Yeah.
I love that
So
cigar.
I wonder
great
how that
cigar.
would go with a nice, lighter, bubbly, sparkling wine. So
Guys, let's do it. Let's do a
All right.
Perdomo champagne
Well,
series, and I'll bring a champagne.
we will put this
All right,
bad boy
we're on
on
it.
the calendar. All right. And we got to take a break. We'll be back to wrap things up. Smoking and Toasting, all about craft beer, fine spirits, hand-rolled cigars, wine,
love those
and
things.
barbecue. All good things. Welcome back at Smoking and Toasting. Our program's all about craft beer, fine spirits, hand-rolled cigars, wine, and barbecue. And today's show is wine and barbecue. I got to say, this last wine, I think I may have enjoyed this more than even the others. This is just a really wonderful, flavorful, full wine. Is this in the same price range?
So this one's going to be probably up there close to $40, $45.
Okay.
I know Venology has this on their shelf, and I think it's right at $42, $45.
Wow.
Delicious.
It's wonderful. And it was really, I was really amazed actually at how well all of these wines went with the barbecue and how well things
So
fared.
this is
Cruz, I do this for a living.
This is the third time you've been on the show, right? And you brought how many wines did we try today? 4?
Yes, sir.
You brought 4 wines. So let's assume you brought 4 wines for each show. So that's 12 wines. And you haven't brought one that I've spit out yet.
Yeah, well, it's good to know.
You'd be mad about how many wines I have to spit every day of my job.
just try it.
Hey, I wanted to mention this because we promised information on this at the beginning of the show. EP Carrillo Cigar Company, which is the a 2-time Cigar of the Year winner in Cigar Aficionado. They make the Pledge and the Inch and the Encore and the La Historia, which is one of my favorites. They're changing their company name again. It is now known as Casa Carrillo,
Really?
which is the name actually of their cigar factory in Santiago in the Dominican Republic. The company's calling this a rebrand and a move that unites its U.S. headquarters, factory, and global presence under one name that reflects both their heritage and their vision for the future. Now, name changes are not new for Casa Carrillo. In 2009, it was created by Ernesto Perez Carrillo and his family. They were known as EPC Cigar Company. Later, they changed to EP Carrillo, and now to Casa Carrillo. So
It's still going to be
Still
EPC
cigar-
to me.
yeah, I still call it EPC, actually, and still love everything they make.
Yes, I'm
really
such
do.
a fan.
And let me circle back to the Texas wine distillery that I could not think of the name of, Andalusia.
Oh, and
They make the triple distilled Irish style and the Striker and some other good ones.
I would go for some Irish style whiskey about now.
Yeah.
Or some more of this tequila. Either way, we could do that as well. That's what happens on the final segment of the show. It's like we kind of like,
Mas tequila.
what do you want to drink more of?
We'll drink some
I
more.
see Terry passing his glass over, so I don't feel too bad.
Well, we didn't beat this one up as bad as we beat up that rum that time.
No, but this is a really good tequila though, and you were mentioning this actually in between some of the segments is that we may not have given this tequila its due. It is really. This is the Divertido or Divertida tequila.
Divertido.
This is the Anejo, and it is really quite good. It's different.
It is very, very different. Aged in American white oak barrels are Anejo's notes of cooked agave, dry fruits, baking spice, coffee, and tobacco. Tobacco is one of those things that I couldn't name earlier, but it's 100% there. It's
I think we all agree on the baking spices and the maybe light notes of tobacco, but I think the coffee we were all missing a little bit, but that does not detract from the quality.
Yeah, I'm still not getting the coffee, but
That may be because we were having the barbecue.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm still getting the sugar cookie though.
possible. Yeah, the sugar cookie. Everything influences the palate, So
But I mean, again, what you might not guess this in a blind tasting, but it's still a super enjoyable.
And it's about a $50 bottle of tequila. So you can find it. And by the way, I just found this is the first time I've ever seen this bottle. And I'm on the tequila aisle a lot. And so this one I spotted for the first time. I was like, oh, there we go. That's what we'll taste on the show.
Something new, something different.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't know if it is new or if it's just new to me.
Yeah.
But in any case, it caught my attention, and here we are. Wanted to also give a shout out to the place where you got the barbecue, Ian.
Henderson and Kane.
Henderson and Kane. This was some very good and very like straightforward meats, which made it good to be able to taste with the wine. I thought everything stacked up really, really well. So I would definitely go back there.
Awesome.
Definitely
Next
like
week,
that.
we're going to have Mark Harrison from La Sigua Cigar Company.
Oh.
And then a week after that, we'll be back at Vinyl Draft.
Oh, that's becoming one of our favorite
It's
haunts.
so fun. I love that place.
But is that when we're meeting with Iron Root?
Yeah, we're going to meet with Iron Root there. Iron Root will be doing an event with Vinyl Draft, so we're gonna take advantage of both of that. So we'll
Is
get
it
to Vinyl
David
Draft.
Licorice is the
Yes.
Iron Root guy?
Robert Licorice.
Robert Licorice, thank you.
Robert Licorice.
We've had him on the show before. He's been
he's great.
a fun and excellent guest, and of course
And then, of course, Doug Meisinger, who the proprietor of Vinyl Draft, will be on. He's always a blast.
yeah, he's a lot of fun and has good taste in vinyl albums. By
Yes,
the way,
he does.
they have a whole bunch of them there. Well, this has been super fun. I want to thank you, Travis, for coming back on the show again. And yes, next time you're here, we won't be here. We'll be someplace on location. So we can smoke some cigars and do a cigar and wine pairing, because that doesn't happen enough. I really believe that. People pair cigars and spirits frequently. We've paired cigars and craft beer, but we've never done it with wine, and I think that would be, at least not officially, and I think that would be a lot of fun for us to do.
I'm going to put some research into it, and I'm going to make sure and give you guys make sure you're pleasantly surprised at the pairings, and we'll get this done right, and so that the viewers and listeners can maybe walk into their next what do we call it, bring your own bottle type place, and bring in a bottle of something that we recommend on the next show, hopefully.
Well, this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. And this has been a lot of fun today. Thank you for bringing such excellent wines, as you always do, and for helping us pair them up with some really tasty meats.
Yeah, thanks Ian for bringing in the barbecue.
Oh, man, thank you guys.
We appreciate you guys, following us, staying connected to us. If you're watching on YouTube, please click that subscribe button and ding the little bell so you'll get notifications when we post something new. We thank all of you who are listening on our radio partners around the country. Thank you very much. And if you're living in a city that does not have us on the radio, remember our campaign is to steal something from the old MTV and have you call people and say, I want my S&T.
That's right. Yeah, I want my S&T.
That's how we're going to do it. Thank you guys for doing this. We do appreciate it. By the way, our our beverage and mystery music was The Visitor from Shane Ivers at chosic.com. Thank you, Shane, for allowing us to use that. Our producer in the studio is Terry Michaels. Terry, thanks so much. Adam in the Sky, our executive producer, and he's Ian. I'm Cruz. This is Travis. This has been Smoking and Toasting. Have a great week, everybody. And as we like to say at the end of the show, cheers y'all. That was a toast.
It's alright when it's okay. Yeah, you never listen to what anybody else says. Such a stubborn one, I think I miss.